Today's episode is brought to you by Romer Skincare. Based out of Chicago, Romer launched a work-from-home, clean skincare line that covers all your skin needs. They proved that you don't need a million serums and eye creams to get better skin.
Really? Because I do have a million and I don't have better skin until I use this. But this is why we love them. Clean ingredients and effective results with just a simple 3-step routine that you and even your partner can share.
Okay, but what if I don't want to share? Can I have my own?
Well, yes, because right now, Romer Skincare is offering our listeners 15% off and a gift with your first purchase by using the code LISTENER15. That's code LISTENER15 on their website, romerskincare.com. That's ROMER skincare.com. No stress, no clutter, just happy skin.
Hi, this is Jenna.
And this is Kelly.
And you're listening to ODFM.
This episode is One Divination from Murder. Hey, Jenna, did you see we have our first patron?
I did, and I'm so excited.
Thank you, Jamie McIntyre. Shout out. You're amazing.
You are my new favorite person.
Yeah, we have a new best friend. She doesn't even know us, but she's our new best friend.
You're going to get some cool stuff for supporting us, which is really awesome. I'd even bake you cookies, but I can't bake. So you wouldn't want them anyway.
You don't want those.
But I feel like I want to, and that says a lot, I think.
That's huge.
Thank you so much. That was like the coolest news that we got was like,
someone likes us.
Someone likes us. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you so much.
Jamie. So back in 1989, Bridget, my friend and fellow entrepreneur, she went on a weekend getaway with her family. And little did she know that when she got back home to Omaha, Nebraska, her childhood innocence would be gone and her outlook on life changed forever.
Damn.
Was that enough drama for you? Yeah.
That's dark.
Yes.
That was very heavy to start it off.
Yes. I had to start it heavy. Okay.
Dang. All right.
I know. So Bridget submitted the story about her best friend from Catholic school who died at only 12 years old. So you went to, did you go to Catholic school or you just grew up Catholic?
I grew up Catholic. My mom went to Catholic school, and because she did, she said, no, you're going to public school. It's like, oh, okay, cool.
She didn't want you getting your fingers wrapped and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. She was like, I think you should go to public school. I was like, okay.
Okay, I'll go along with this. Okay. Yes. So Bridget and her best friend, Michelle, attended a small private Catholic school in Omaha, Nebraska with only 14 kids in their class. So it was a tiny
The whole class was 14 kids?
Yes. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. So it was small enough that everybody had their own best friend. So like everybody paired off because it was just 14 of them. And
so I'm just thinking about like if there was like a chicken pox outbreak, like the whole grade shuts down. Like, it's just
exactly.
Like, we're done.
This is where our heads go during a pandemic.
This is where I think of things. Right?
Oh my God. It's true. So she remembers, So Michelle was her closest friend in 7th grade. They had been friends for a long time. Bridget left one weekend on a short vacation only to come back to find out that her best friend had been murdered along with her best friend's mother.
Holy cow.
I know. On January 14th of 1989, firefighters responded to a fire at the Anglims home where they discovered the bodies of Susan, who was only 37, and Michelle, who was 12.
Holy cow. Okay.
I know. Susan had been fatally stabbed and Michelle asphyxiated. So hard to say. Asphyxiated. And the house was set on fire to conceal the killings.
Holy crap.
I know.
So wait, when you say that Michelle was she asphyxiated? See, I can't say that either. Was it from smoke or like she was suffocated?
She was suffocated. So it was like a physically, purposely done to her. Yeah.
Dang.
I know.
That's cold.
So it's very cold. Ugh. And Bridget remembers Michelle's mom. She said she was really verbally abusive and she always felt afraid when she was around her. Her mom was very aggressive. And
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bridget didn't want to play at Michelle's house because Susie tended to be very verbally abusive.
Oh, I get that. Okay. So it wasn't even like an in private thing. It didn't matter. She was just verbally abusive no matter who.
Pretty
that's
scary.
God.
So they always went to Bridget's house where they felt safer. Michelle's parents had been divorced for a few years before this happened. And her father, Michael, who was a firefighter, no longer lived with them. So he wasn't around to help when these
Her
situations.
father is a firefighter?
Yeah, I know.
Okay, I'm just gonna say that, and then I'm just gonna leave that there.
Yeah. Good
because
thinking.
there was a fire involved. So I'm just, again, this is not my first crime story.
Smart of you to think of that.
Okay.
Michelle had an older brother who was 16 at the time, and his name was Michael also. So the dad's name was Michael, and the son's name was Michael. He went by Mike.
Okay.
When investigating the crime scene, officers found a 2.5 gallon can by Michelle's badly charred body that they believed contained gasoline. Michelle was strangled and found to have compression marks on her throat.
Thanks.
And in another room, they found Susie's body and one yellow acrylic glove either near her body or on her body. It was different in different articles I read about it. And the crazy thing is there are no articles to be found online. Nothing. Like you try to look them up, there's nothing about any of this. So, and I found out, luckily, Bridget had newspaper clippings, tons of them. So she copied them for me. And I figured out.
Thank you, Bridget. That was very nice of you.
Thank goodness. There'd be no way unless I had gone to the newspaper that had written these stories.
Right. And hunted them down and, in your free time.
Yes. Right. Which I actually did talk to one of the newspaper people there because I wanted some of their photos. But they haven't. I know.
You.
I was being a researcher.
I know.
But they haven't digitized that far.
Oh, back. Okay, right.
Yeah. So they would have had to go on microfiche, and they're super shorthanded, and I would have had to pay a ton.
Oh, okay. We'll let that go then.
We'll let it go.
We'll let it go.
So I only have kind of a black and white, super scanned photos that I'll have to share, but.
It's okay.
Yes.
Okay. So you said there was a yellow acrylic glove?
Acrylic. Yeah. At first, and a couple of them had said rubber glove, but then it comes up in the trial later that happens later, and it's specifically an acrylic glove.
What the hell is an acrylic glove?
So I think, when I think of...
Because I know latex and rubber and
right. So
acrylic.
I think it's like a fabric, because my husband has some that he uses in the garage for some sort of, maybe even cleaning up his motorcycle and stuff like that. It's like a thick glove. So yeah. So that's
is it like the kind that you can use like as an oven glove or like
I think so.
Grilling or something? So it doesn't. Okay. Maybe, that makes more sense.
I think I could be totally wrong. But that's what I
have
envisioned.
I have yet to come across an acrylic glove.
Well,
you always hear about a rubber glove,
right,
or latex glove. Yeah,
You're catching on to everything because that's a big thing.
Yeah, these don't seem very popular, and it's yellow. I don't think
right.
When you think yellow glove, I think like those like when you're the dishwashing gloves that go up to your elbows.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Cleaning. Yeah. That's what I would have thought too, and that's what I originally thought until I kept reading. Susan, the mother, she had a gaping cut on her forehead, 12 stab wounds on her neck, so severe that she was nearly decapitated.
Holy cow.
And 13 defensive cuts on her hands and forearms, proving she'd put up a good fight before succumbing. So she had fought the hell out of this guy
good for her.
Life. Yeah.
Good for her for that.
Luckily, there was no evidence of sexual assault on either of the victims.
Okay, good.
So that's good. In the car in the garage, the gas cap was removed and was on the floor, along with a section of garden hose that appeared to have been cut with shears, presumably to siphon gas, is what I assumed. The fire was set.
Wait a minute. Someone's going to set these people on fire and they can't even bring their own gas.
They didn't even bring their own gas. Yeah.
I mean,
I know.
God.
Well, was that really just because it wasn't thought out, or was it, it was like a last minute, like,
okay, I'll let that go. Because I just
try to burn this place down.
It's like a guy who asks you out on a date and then is like, oh, I forgot my wallet. Can you pay? I'm just like, wow, man, bring your own damn gas.
Bring your own gas at least.
Right?
Lazy little shit. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. There's probably a method to the madness.
Yeah. I'm assuming maybe it was not thought of beforehand and it was like a last minute thought. Maybe.
That's possible. Okay.
You'll let it go. Okay.
I'll let it go. Bring your own damn gas.
Get smart, people. If you're going to kill somebody.
Right, exactly.
So the fire was set in Michelle's bedroom, but it didn't reach all the way to Susie's bedroom. So it went out before then. And the slayings occurred sometime between 11:30 p.m. on January 13th when the mom and daughter returned from a shopping trip. Like, I never shopped that late. My mom would have not let me go out that late.
What stores are open till that late?
I don't know, but this is Omaha, so maybe it's crazy cool malls.
It's crazy. Those people from Omaha, they shop late.
They go to
nothing opens before 11 a.m. It's all late night.
That's right. Maybe, yeah. The time of the fire was reported at 5:22 a.m. So there was a window between 11:30 and 5:22. The killings could have happened and between when the fire was discovered.
Okay.
So Susie was said to have a troubled relationship with her son, Mike.
Okay.
And a couple months before her death, Mike had moved in with his maternal grandparents instead of staying at home with verbally abusive Susie.
Well, right. Good for him.
Which makes sense. But after the slaying, detectives interviewed about 50 people, including relatives, friends, neighbors, and officials from Michelle's school. And they had several calls of suspicious individuals in the area of the deaths that they said they checked out. But fairly quickly, they set their sights on 16-year-old Mike.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
16-year-old Mike was the main
They think he
suspect?
did it.
Okay.
And the reason was because Susan had a life insurance policy that paid between $10,000 and $20,000 in case of accidental death that all would be going to her son.
And he knew. He did
know
maybe it's
about
just me. Okay, because I don't know. I'm trying to remember when I was 16.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know if my parents had a life insurance policy. Like this was not something that I thought about.
No.
Right.
I don't even know if I have anything now.
Right, exactly. I don't know
that then.
Now. That just seems like, I've heard about husbands and wives doing that and, or married or the grandparents, what I mean? But rarely do you hear of a teenager going for a life insurance policy. That's a new one.
Yeah, and being that cunning.
This case has a lot of interesting things.
I know. Insane. So detectives began interviews with Mike only hours after his mom and sister's bodies were discovered. So he's probably already holy shit, what happened?
Right?
Ugh. The detectives got such tunnel vision focusing on Mike that they may have overlooked others who could have been good for the
I hate when I hear about that.
Yeah, and I guess I wish I knew more what it would be like to be a detective to see how that would feel, because maybe it's I know this is the person, this gut feeling.
Right, and you just, how much of it is gut feeling and how much of it, or maybe it's just that we've seen too many movies and TV shows where they emphasize that
could definitely,
that now we're all now I'm all skeptical.
But one of the detectives admitted that Mike was suspect from the very beginning, and there were plenty of reasons for that. Detective Roberts was quoted as saying, quote, "It was not what you'd normally find in a stranger-related crime. The evidence led us to believe that it was someone known to the family or very close to the family," unquote.
Okay.
Which makes sense because of all it seems super personal to stab someone that many times and to suffocate.
That would mean that he killed his little sister.
Which is really hard to imagine.
Oh my gosh. I mean,
and Bridget knew them very well, and it doesn't sound like it was a violent family in that way or anything, and he didn't seem that disturbed to have possibly thought of something like that. I'll have to ask her, but I don't remember ever hearing her say that Mike and Michelle never got along. So
yeah, that's a pretty personal way to kill somebody too.
Very.
So.
But investigators found no signs of forced entry to the house, and Mike possibly had a key, as you would think he probably would, since he used. Well,
I would hope he had a key.
Yeah. Investigators said the divorce of Mike's parents had a huge impact on him. They just weren't sure of what may have possibly led him to act, but they were determined to make him pay for it. And they used every detail they gathered about him, making it fit the narrative they were creating.
Oh, I hate hearing that shit too.
I know.
That drives me crazy. We can make it fit.
Yes. So he was a sophomore in high school at the time of the murders. Both Bridget, who submitted the story, and I have 16-year-old sons. And neither of us, when we were talking about this, could imagine a kid of that age having the knowledge or maturity to carry out murders in the fashion that he did without leaving a ton of evidence or bragging about it to friends.
Right. Okay. So I don't have a 16-year-old boy. Okay. But I remember myself being 15 and 16, and the handful of times I attempted to get away with stuff, and they were, this was just, I said I was going one place and went someplace else. And the stupid shit that I did where I got myself caught. There's no way in hell. Okay. There's just no way.
Yeah. So they're kind of making him out to be this mastermind. you know,
I'm
and I mean,
sorry. 16-year-olds are, mastermind is not the word that comes to mind when you think of 16-year-old.
I've heard a couple stories. In fact, I watched one recently of a kid who was 16 and pulled off a bad crime like that. But he did get caught eventually for it. So I guess it's possible, but it'd be hard to imagine.
Okay. Obviously I am not of that caliber. I mean, like I remember I was 15. My best friend was 16. So she had just gotten her license, and rather than go to the movies like we said we were going to, or we had permission to go, we were going to take the car and we went to the river walk because, you know, that's where all the teenagers hung out. We were going to go look for boys.
Yeah.
So we were going to, right. All the hotties, right. With their pimply faces and stuff. Right. So we went there, and being the geniuses that we were, she parked the car and we went and we walked around, and then we're like, okay, we better get home because we don't want them to think anything. And we couldn't get the car to start.
Oh no.
And after we couldn't, you know, so we finally had to call and be like, okay, so the car won't start. Like, all right, we'll be there in a minute. Okay, we're not exactly at the movies. We're kind of somewhere else entirely, right? And so as we're sitting there trying to figure out what the hell we could have done to the car, and she's sitting there going, oh my God, my dad's going to kill me. My dad's going to kill me. Was when we realized that she had forgotten to put the car into park. So it wouldn't start. Because it wasn't in gear. And we literally, she's like, shit, it's just not in park. She puts it into park, she starts it starts up, and her dad pulls up. And we're like,
my God, fuck. So you gave yourselves away for nothing. Yeah.
Okay, so to think that I could have gotten away with anything remotely like that.
Wouldn't have been possible.
I'm fascinated by the possibility that there was a 16-year-old that could pull this off. Because
I can't even imagine it.
Damn. Okay.
So investigators couldn't find anyone who saw Mike in the area of his mother's house before the slayings or the morning after. His body and clothing were checked for burns, blood, and the odor of gasoline the day the bodies were found, but none of that was found, and Mike had no injuries, which you remember she fought his mother viciously. So there would have been injuries.
Right. And I personally have never had any dealings with gasoline where I have not gotten some of it on me.
Every freaking time I pump gas, I'd step in it, something, and I smell it the whole way home. So I find that hard. Right. Yeah. I find it hard to believe that if you're like, you know, splashing it around a house. Yeah. You would have gotten some on it. However, a detective took a pair of Michael's jeans from his grandparents' house that were greasy and oily and had what appeared to be spots of blood on them. The blood spot, in quotes, was sent to a crime lab for testing, but the results weren't made clear to the public. So nothing ever came of that. So I'm assuming it probably wasn't. Also, keep in mind, this is 1989, and advancements in DNA were quite a ways off.
Okay, right. Plus, I feel like a 16-year-old kid, especially then when cars, you know, you could work on your own cars more than you can now. Everything's like electronic and stuff. People used to have a pair of jeans
because
with, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I think you're psychic because this kid does work on cars.
See, I'm telling you, 16-year-old kid, you know, working on his own car. Red also happens to be a paint color. I don't know if people know this. Yeah. But okay. I should have been investigating this story.
You should have been. I feel like you're getting all these details that they needed to get. So they were more dependent in that time on blood typing and fiber analysis at this point. And a police sergeant who was sitting in his car outside the house the morning the bodies were found said he observed Mike talking to other teens across the street and that he was smiling and acting as if nothing was wrong. And he was questioned for 6 or 7 hours initially, right after his family was found dead. So
that's awful.
So he's trying to say, he didn't give a shit. But we will hear more. Michael was arrested a few months after the deaths and went to trial for 2 counts of murder.
This is the kid?
This is the 16-year-old boy. Yes.
Why?
I know.
Isn't the first person like that they suspect usually like a spouse?
Stop jumping ahead, Jen. You're going to totally figure this thing out. Oh my God.
I'm like, this is so bizarre. Okay, I'm going to shut up and listen.
No, we should have sent
I'm going to shut up and
investigate this.
What the hell?
At this point, many in the community, including 13-year-old Bridget, believed it was Michael because they believe the cops. The cops are doing their jobs.
Well, right.
A 13-year-old
That's their
kid,
job.
You're mourning your best friend. Of course, you're hoping they get the killer. So, but if convicted, he would be sentenced to life in prison as a 16-year-old kid.
As a 16-year-old.
His lawyer tried to have his case transferred to juvenile court, but it was denied by the judge. And Mike pleaded not guilty. But it gets deeper. So Iris Carter, the victim Susan's sister-in-law. So this is Susan's sister.
Susan's sister.
Susie, her sister-in-law, and Mike's aunt.
Okay. Right. Yeah. Okay.
So said she found her nephew and 3 or 4 of his friends at his grandparents' home when she went there the morning after the murders. She said she saw police tape at the sister's house and went to her parents' house to find out what happened. So she didn't know yet.
Okay.
She claims she asked Mike what happened, and he told her, "The bitch is dead. What more does it matter? What do you want me to say? My mother and sister are dead."
Whoa, that's pretty harsh.
Yeah.
That's damn. You know, even with fights between like teenagers and parents, it's
pretty harsh.
That's harsh.
But Iris and her husband all testified that they heard Michael say negative comments about his mother the day of the deaths. After initially being questioned by police, Mike's uncle, who was Susan's brother, Susan's mom that was killed, his name's Arthur, he testified that Mike told him that, quote, they, referring to the investigators, almost had me talked into saying I killed the bitch, unquote. I know.
Wow.
Harsh language.
Wow.
His uncle asked him what he told them, and Mike said, they tried to say I tried to kill her, meaning his mom.
Mm-hmm.
And Iris, his aunt, said that on the same night, she overheard him tell his grandma and another aunt about the police questioning. She said she heard him say that the police almost, quote, had me believing I did it. I don't know if I did it. They had me scared, unquote.
Damn.
So.
And he was probably questioned without a lawyer.
Yes. God, quit it. You have this whole thing figured out ahead of time.
I'm just like, well, I'm a 16-year-old kid should not be getting like persuaded into giving a what's that called? A statement or a confession without a lawyer or a present.
Or at
he's
least
underage. Holy crap. Oh my God.
Yes.
Okay.
And
shit.
I know. It's deep. It makes you pissed. I had to keep stopping when I was reading it because I was getting so pissed. During another conversation with Michael, Iris said she asked him how he was getting along with his dad, and he replied that it was fine. Quote, he should like me now that I've saved him $400 a month, unquote. I'm assuming he's, I know. I'm assuming he's referring to child support here. I don't know.
Right. Oh my God. Alimony or something? But
something.
Damn.
Cold.
Oh my
That'd
God.
Be really cold.
So cold.
But she said
teenagers can be evil.
They can. But,
not really. Just,
there's more info.
They're not really evil, but
yeah.
They're like toddlers can be. Toddlers can be evil.
Mean girls. Toddlers.
Oh yeah.
All kids can be assholes.
Speaking from personal experience.
It's true.
All children are assholes. Please do not repeat that quote on the air.
They can be. So she said they also talked about insurance, and he said, $20,000 for 20 years isn't too bad. And when I get out, I'll have $200,000. So I'm guessing he either is bad at math, or
I was just going to say, too, this kid,
like me, or he's saying he'd put the money in his savings and have that much when he got out of prison. But if he goes,
so this 16-year-old is a criminal mastermind and a financial wizard. Is that what we're supposed to understand?
I think that's what we're supposed to believe. Yes.
Okay, because he's also like the Wolf of Wall Street.
Right.
And he's going to invest.
Yes.
Like, what the hell?
After committing these amazing murders. Yes.
I'm going to get out. I'm going to be then he'd be like, 36?
Yeah.
37?
If he thinks 20 years, but that wouldn't happen.
Right. And I'm going to get out and I'm going to be like,
I'm going to be rich.
Yeah, I don't know. And I'm going to have like the cool car. I don't know. This is ridiculous.
I'm going to get a Ferrari.
Totally ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'll be out in time for my midlife crisis.
Yes. Perfect.
And I'll be able to afford my Corvette. It'll be great.
With my bald head. Yes.
My bald head. Hey, but if what is it called? Where you take the top down.
I thought you were talking about like
convertible.
I thought you were talking about the men's bald head and like what my husband gets, where it's just you only grow hair around the sides.
Around the sides? No, I meant like the convertibles are good because if you have the bald head, you don't have to worry about the windblown hair.
No, I'm calling that hairstyle the convertible. Now, from now on, the one where it's just missing all the middle. And you can
I thought the convertible was when they have a toupee and the wind grabs it and blows it back to them.
Me too. horrible. Oh,
okay, sorry, we've gone off on quite the tangent. Sorry.
Okay. All right, future Mike. So Iris also testified that Mike never did admit to doing anything wrong to her. But Michael's grandfather testified that his daughter, the victim, Susan, had discipline problems with her son and that they argued. He said it wasn't anything violent. However, Arthur, the uncle, said he did see Michael swing at his mother after she slapped him during an argument at their home. He said he stepped between them and stopped the argument, and he said they didn't get along and they fought constantly, which, I mean...
Okay, is any of that good and healthy? No. Is it completely unheard of?
Right. Not at all.
No. There's a far cry between you're mad at your mom or, you have a smart mouth and she smacks you and then you step in towards her and then there's like actually suffocating your mom and your sister. Yeah. There's I feel like there's a big gap there.
It would take I don't think you could that fast. But a friend of Michael's, 17-year-old Carol, testified that she saw Michael the night after the slayings and said, quote, "You could tell he was very upset. He appeared hurt, like he didn't want to cry in front of his friends," unquote. I would think she would know him better because at that age, you know your friends know you better than your parents do.
No, I would agree with that. And, I would think that he would be upset. And even though that was a completely legit reason to be upset and cry in front of your friends, you're still 16 and you have to maintain a certain amount of coolness.
Yes. And plus, I think I kind of got the gist that she might have been an ex-girlfriend of his. So,
you can't. No. Well,
even then.
Although there's that whole thing of that'd be a really good way to get back with the ex-girlfriend.
That's true. Good point.
The vulnerable thing,
vulnerable
and
boy,
hurting and all that. Yeah, he may have really missed a big opportunity.
Yeah, he could have played that up more. Son,
unless she was the crazy ex-girlfriend.
However,
tangent. Sorry.
Yes, that is what makes this fun. Because we could not deal with the heaviness of the subject if we couldn't have tangents.
It's the only way to deal with the heaviness of the subject. So
Mike's uncle Arthur also said that at a luncheon after the funeral of his mother and sister, he saw Mike clowning around and that he heard him say, quote, "I don't know why everybody's so sad. This is a celebration," unquote. Okay, but this is Iris and Arthur who are saying all this. I know. During the trial, Mike's friend Carol said, this is the
crazy ex-girlfriend?
I assume. Yeah, I don't know. But this is the gist I got out of it. But she said the night of the deaths, she was with Mike and 3 other friends watching a movie at one of their houses. She said she and Mike left together and stood in the driveway talking until shortly after 2 a.m. when he left on foot. Mike's grandfather testified that he awoke at about 7:05 in the morning and heard a radio report about a fire in the area near his daughter's house. So he woke his wife and she tried calling Susan, but got a busy signal. Mike's grandparents decided then at that point to go check on Susan. And when his grandpa walked past a utility room where Mike slept, it looked like his bed was empty, but he really couldn't see because he went by there in such a hurry and it was dark in the room because he was in a hurry to go check on his daughter. Okay, so back to the story. So his aunt and uncle are making him look really suspicious during the trial. And I'm guessing...
What's up with that? That's so weird.
It is a little. So, and I'm guessing this hearsay is what made police really hone in on him as a suspect because they were telling him all this stuff at the beginning. But Rose, who is Mike's grandmother, and his other aunt named Donna testified that Arthur, who is Arthur's the uncle, the victim's brother, and Iris, that they sometimes embellished the truth and fabricated stories. And a cousin and a friend of Mike's took the stand to dispute with what Iris and Arthur had claimed they'd heard Mike say. They were present when the discussion took place, and they said they never heard him say, "That bitch is dead. What does it matter?" They said, this is his friend.
Rule number 1 of embellishing stories is you can't have other people there that can dispute what you said. Like, duh.
Yeah.
Come on.
What are you trying to get attention for, too? So
the 16-year-old mastermind has this down better than they do.
I know. It's true. They suck at this. His friends said they would remember hearing him say something like that. And they even testified that they didn't hear him make any negative comments when Iris had arrived. So when the aunt had said that she heard all this negative talk about his mom, he hadn't said it.
If my friend's parent or whatever and family had just been hurt or murdered or whatever, like I would very much remember if my friend was like, the bitch is dead. Like I would remember that shit.
You'd be like, holy shit, I'm out of here. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
And another friend testified that Mike was so upset he was crying when he called his friend to tell him about the slayings. And the friend's mother testified that Mike was extremely distraught, that he came over to their house and they all stood there hugging and crying. And
that seems more reasonable.
It sounds way more realistic than the bitch is dead. Yeah, that just doesn't even sound like a kid. I mean, it does to their friends if they're talking about other stuff besides death. But so all of these friends said they were with Mike most of the morning of the sad news, and they testified that they tried to cheer him up some. They said he may have smiled while the group was outside his mom's home, but there was no joking or laughing about the deaths, like the cop had said he witnessed.
Right, but that's what people do. Like right now, when we're making light of the situation, it's how people cope.
Yes, they try to make each other feel better.
Kelly, this is normal.
We're normal?
Doing completely
oh my God, we're so normal. I don't think we're normal. My cat just meowed. You're not normal.
She's like, okay, I can't listen anymore. I can't just stand by and let you just blatantly embellish like that.
You're embellishing the truth again. Fabricating stories. Should I call you Iris? Yes.
Should I call you Iris? My next cat is now going to be named Iris. I just have to tell you.
That'd be a great cat name. I love it. I like that one. Okay.
And then every time it would meow at me, I'd be like, are you embellishing stories again?
Again with it, Iris. Good God, your drama. Iris. So early in the evening on the night of the murders, a friend was with Mike at his grandparents' house and testified that he and Mike were working on a car in the garage when Susan stopped by to borrow some wrenches. He said that Susan and Mike had a lighthearted conversation and neither was angry with the other at the time. And this is the night of the murders.
The night of the murders.
He said they were joking around with each other and they weren't angry at each other at all. Evidence. So evidence that the investigator said pointed to Michael was that yellow acrylic glove found on or near Susan's body. It had a spot of type A blood on it, which is the same blood type as Michael and millions of other people.
Right, yeah, a lot of people.
I am too. It was me. Wait, I would have been also 12 at the time, 13. So the garden.
Hey, if a 16-year-old can pull this off,
mastermind.
Don't sell yourself short, Kelly.
I know. I just didn't have that.
I lived several states away, and
yeah, that's true.
And you probably had a curfew. But anyway,
good point. I did. The garden hose that they assumed was used to siphon the gas from the car also tested positive for saliva that came from a person with type A blood, because at this time they didn't have any DNA. And I looked it up, and A blood type is one of the most common. I think it said something like 1 in 6 people have that type of blood. So
yeah, that's not good evidence. That's you can't use that.
Could have almost been anyone. Michael had cut his hand while working on a car engine that day before the death. So the police were claiming that that's why his, in quotes, blood was on the glove. They had also taken fingernail scrapings from under Michael's nails and found fibers that they said were consistent with those from the glove. And a crime scene lab tech testified she positively identified a left palm print found on Susan's car as that of Mike's. But
it's his mom's car.
Exactly. He would have ridden in it.
He was a stranger.
Yeah.
Right.
Back in the late 80s and early 90s, fiber analysis was something.
Wait, what did you say? Ninders?
Ninders. Early Ninders. That's the Western way to speak out here. My dad always says Monday, Tuesday. So that's me. I'm just pulling out the old Ninders. Yeah, Ninders.
Okay, so in the 80s and 90s, what happened? What?
So much happened. Fiber analysis back then was something that was often used, but in looking up more info on it, it's now thought to be an unreliable method of analysis. So that's why you really don't hear of it being used that much, because now it's known that hair or fiber samples that look identical, even under high-powered microscopes, could come from a number of individuals or sources.
Well, yeah, because you're asking for human eyes to detect stuff,
even
and we
with
suck.
Microscopes, it doesn't. Yeah, even with the microscope, they can't tell. So it can.
Was that the cat arguing with it also?
Yeah.
I distinctly heard bullshit, like in cat language. Yeah.
But it can be used to narrow the field of potential suspect, but this method now isn't usually used to pinpoint an offender, and it's definitely not as reliable as DNA.
Yeah, it's just to like rule stuff out now. God.
Yeah. In Mike's trial, a forensics expert testified that acrylic is a common fiber, even then, and that fibers taken from the glove and Michael were too small for further comparison testing.
See, there you go.
Yes. And Mike's lawyer rebuffed these remarks by pointing out that Susan had fought her assailant, not rebuffed the remarks of the glove, but rebuffed the remarks of how he wasn't injured. Michael's lawyer pointed out that Susan had fought her assailant as evidenced by many of the defense wounds on her wrists and arms, and her assailant would likely have been injured, but Mike had no injuries.
Yeah, there'd be something.
There'd be something, anything. I mean, especially having a knife that you always hear in the shows we watch constantly.
Yeah.
The blood is very slippery and your hand slips down. You often cut yourself.
Exactly. Sometimes in the leg.
Yeah. Killing yourself.
To your death.
Like some...
Spoiler alert.
Some previous episode we've done. And if you haven't heard it, you better go listen to them all.
You better go back because it can happen.
It can. You can die. You can kill yourself accidentally. So when investigators questioned Michael the day after the murders for several hours, they told him he was a suspect. And when questioning his friends, they accused them of lying and hiding information and trying to convince the boys that Mike had committed the murders. One boy, who was 17 at the time, testified that detectives screamed and swore at him and told him he would go to prison. They were also...
What?
I know. Unless you tell us that Mike did it. I don't know.
Oh my God.
But they were also examined for injuries during their interviews. Mike's attorney during the trial claimed that he was not fully advised of his rights when he was questioned before and after his arrest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the jurors heard the transcript of the tape recording of the interrogations, which revealed the detectives using a tactic we've talked about before. If you haven't checked out Thistle lately and you love Halloween as much as we do, you are missing out. I love the vintage style devil mug, especially when paired with the exclusive Thistle blend coffee.
I'm partial to the decor that can go inside or out, like the witch in the cauldron sign that says, "Come in, my pretties."
Yes, so cute. And the pastel handcrafted skulls that I would and totally do display at my house all year round.
Oh, yes, for sure. And I feel like I need that zombie horse mask to make sure that people are following social distancing rules. I would definitely stay away from anyone wearing that.
Absolutely. Well, you can get all the things for 10% off on thistlewellington.com by using code ODFM at checkout.
I'll be shopping right after we're done with this story.
So back to the story. On the taped interrogation, detectives lied to Mike in order to obtain a confession. Weird. We never heard this before.
No, they don't do that.
No. They told him they had evidence that pointed to him as the killer of his mom and sister. They showed him the yellow glove found on his mom's body, told him that a hair and spot of blood on it had been positively identified as belonging to him. He was also told that his friends... that they were his friends and they could trust them, the cops. Of course. You could totally trust us. We're your friends.
Oh, God. Always ask for a lawyer.
I know. And they hammered at him. It's so true. And they hammered at him for hours upon hours. And Michael continued to emphatically deny any involvement.
Oh, my God.
Quoting the detective, quote, he said that if he did it, he didn't remember it, but he didn't think he did do it, unquote. So they're like super confusing this kid. Mike cried twice during the questioning. The first time he talked about his mom and how she didn't have much, but she tried to give him the best, which doesn't sound like a kid that hates his mom, let alone his little sister. Testimony indicated that interviews were recorded without Mike knowing. And at one point...
Yeah, that's not allowed either, right?
Right.
Is it?
I don't know.
I think so.
So, I mean, he would have no reason to be trying to fake all this stuff either if he didn't think it was being recorded.
I still want to know what possible motive that they think he would have to kill his little sister.
Yeah.
It just
doesn't make any sense. I know.
I just don't get it.
At one point in the interview, the detective said, quote, "Mike, I'm your salvation. If you don't tell me your story now, Mike, your story will never be heard," unquote. Like...
What?
What kind of salvation are you?
Such a load of crap.
I know.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Please.
A portion of the transcript goes as followed. Detective, Jesus, I wish I could get into your mind and help you get rid of this. I want to be your friend. I want to understand you. Mike, I don't even understand myself. Which is totally me.
Okay. I'm sorry.
With
right
you,
now,
Mike.
This sounds like one of those really bad after-school specials right now. This is really bad.
I'm acting out the parts of it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So the detective, I want to help you get over this hurdle. Mike, I just don't know how or what happened. Detective, it's utterly important that you remember. Mike, it's not there. It's not there anywhere in my mind. Because he didn't do it. Because this poor kid.
My God.
I know
You're kidding me.
I know. And reading it, I was picturing my 16-year-old and how confused and scared.
Right?
And it just makes me want to reach out and hug him.
They're police and they're adults and they're supposed to be the good guys. And then you start to question yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, what is that? That's,
making a murderer.
Yeah. Gaslighting.
Gaslighting,
right?
You're right. Yes. But
I mean, that's abuse. And this poor kid's already been abused. Oh my God.
I know. But it's amazing how strong he was. He didn't give in ever and make something up to stop the interrogations. Like most kids probably would have made shit up. You know?
There's a whole show on Netflix about that, isn't it? The confession tapes or something like that? Yeah.
It's insane. Another detective confirmed that they frequently suggested to Mike that he had been angry with his mother because she wouldn't let him come home. So they were feeding him a motive. But Mike replied,
That's crap.
I know.
Oh my God, that's such crap. And that could be completely true. Like those things can be completely isolated things.
Yeah.
I was pissed at her.
You're not going to murder somebody over it. Yeah.
Right.
And especially a little girl. But
I like how they're just leaving her out of the picture altogether. Yeah. Like she just wasn't here. Okay.
Yeah, because I think they know he couldn't have done it.
Right.
But Mike replied that he felt he could go home at any time and he wasn't mad at his mom. So he was keeping his cool. I don't know how. But at one point, the detectives left the room, telling Mike to write down what had happened. Mike wrote that he was with his friends the night before the slayings, watching movies, that he went to his grandparents' house and went to sleep. And his written statement had no admissions to the murders at all. And when the detectives came back, the following exchange took place. Mike said, "If I did it, I don't know why." The detective, "We've got to find out. I'm saying that for you, buddy. If for nothing else, for your own defense." And Mike says, "If I did it, I didn't mean to do it." Isn't that sad?
Oh my God, that's so sad. Plus, don't teenagers have like a bit of like grown-up bullshit like meters where they can tell where they're like, you are so full of crap.
This do not want to be my friend. And this is why.
Don't they know when they're like, you're trying to be my friend and you're a grown-up and you're not cool.
You're not being my friend. Yeah. You're trying to say I killed somebody. This is why at this point I was like, I always thought would love to be a detective. But at this point I was like, now I know why I couldn't be, because I'd be hugging him and crying and being like, it's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they frown upon that.
Yeah. So this part,
Kelly, we're gonna have to we're gonna have to have you to we're gonna have to ask you to stop hugging the suspect. I know he's upset, but he's kind of in here for murder. And so I'm gonna need you to stop bringing him cupcakes and water.
But that part reminded me so much of the Making a Murderer TV show. Like confusing the teens so much during questioning that they don't even know what's real anymore.
And it doesn't occur to them that maybe the police are lying.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh my God, you have evidence?
Really? How did I do that?
Then what did I do?
Remember. Yeah. But during the interview, Mike several times said that he wouldn't hurt his mom or sister and that he loved them both. And at one point he said he wanted to call his grandparents, but he wasn't allowed to make the call. His lawyer said that Mike asked twice to stop the questioning, but the detectives would just leave the room and a different detective would come in and continue the interrogation.
Well, that's not how that works.
No, I looked it up.
Swap them out.
No, and I looked it up about the law regarding questioning children by law enforcement. Police can question a child without a parent present and are not required to obtain permission from a parent before questioning the child. But children themselves can refuse to be questioned and can request a lawyer or a parent to be present anytime during the questioning. And as soon as they know that they can
ask that. Yeah, they have to know though.
Are required to bring, but he did. He asked for his grandparents. He asked to call them. And they refused.
that counts.
Mm-hmm. And they refused. So that was basically, I think, against the law. They never
Does
said
he
it
have a weird relationship with his dad? Why didn't he call his dad?
Mm-hmm.
You're like,
Mike's father.
All right, here we go.
Also named Michael.
He makes an appearance in this story.
Exactly. They say he was questioned during the trial. He said Susan would occasionally call him to her house when she was having disciplinary problems with their son. He said that during those visits, he didn't see any physical or verbal arguments between the mother and son. Quote, she would tell him to do the dishes and he would say no. She would tell him to clean up his room and he would say no. That was about the extent of it, unquote. They also asked...
Sounds like my kid.
Oh my God. This is Bailey with mine. Yes. And there's nothing you can do when they're taller, bigger than you. So... Let's say,
because I've tried
your video games. It's true.
Right, exactly.
They also asked him whether he referred to Susan as, quote, the bitch. He replied, no way. So, but I found this part to be a bit disturbing. So the night after the discovery of the murders, Michael Sr. said that he and his son argued when police investigators came to question Michael Sr. They exchanged words, and Michael Sr. claims his son told him, quote, if I was going to kill anybody, I'd kill you, Dad. Unquote.
Oh!
Yeah. So,
wow.
Their relationship was apparently strained.
Yes. It was apparently strained. But then again, that is something that a teenager would say, but not necessarily act on.
Totally.
Again, you know, just...
Lawyers asked Mike Sr. whether he asked Mike Jr. if he'd committed the murders. He said he did for his own personal satisfaction, and that Mike said, I didn't do it, Dad. I didn't do it. And Mike Sr. talked to investigators about a dozen times. He said he called detectives several times to report on his son's behavior, feeling it was necessary to notify them when something important turned up. He also said it didn't matter it didn't matter if what he told investigators hurt or helped his son. He was just doing his duty as a...
Okay, that's a load of crap right there.
I know.
What kind of parent is that?
I know. I think any parent would probably protect their kid, but...
Right?
No.
I mean, but it was the dad. He didn't have the whole mama bear thing.
True.
You know.
That's true. Like, we need to hold you accountable, son. Yeah.
Right. But still.
I know. It just seems a little off.
Yeah, that's not right.
Yeah. Rose, Michael's grandma, she testified that she heard no one leave or enter her house after Mike went to bed at about 3:30 a.m. on the night of the slayings. She was up because her husband works late, and being the good, sweet wife she was, she fixes meals for him when he gets home after midnight every night.
Damn.
She's a nice wife.
Dedication.
I know. And
my husband gets home after midnight all the time.
Yeah, and you're like,
and my ass is asleep.
I'm going to bed. Get yourself your own damn snack. But she had been up doing dishes after having cooked a giant meal. When Mike got home, and he was upbeat, telling her that he had talked to an old girlfriend after watching movies with friends. Remember how that one girl said that they were
girlfriend?
Yeah, that they were outside on the driveway talking.
So
that matches.
Talking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She went to, so Rose, the grandma, went to bed after that, but returned to the kitchen about 3:45 a.m. to get a drink of water. And Mike's light was out and his radio was playing. About 2.5 hours later is when the bodies were found.
Yeah, that doesn't seem to really fit with the whole timeline there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Rose also said she didn't sleep very well because that night she had drunk coffee at bingo earlier in the evening, which will ruin a good night's sleep if I've ever heard of it.
I hear you, Rose. I feel the same way. I cannot have coffee at bingo anymore.
Yep, not at all. So she said...
I've learned my lesson, so yes.
Yeah. So Rose was like, she would have totally heard the door if anyone had left because her sleep was so fitful. So,
all right. Yeah, okay. If I had coffee at bingo and my husband got home around, 12, 1 o'clock, I'd be like, I guess I can make you something to eat.
I'll do the dishes and then I'll hang out with the grandkid. Yeah.
Oh, God. Okay.
And she was asked about Mike's behavior after the slayings, whether he acted inappropriately. And she explained that he was so full of grief and that she couldn't believe the cops were saying he did it. After the 2-week trial and just under a year from the anniversary of the slayings, the mood was super tense in the courtroom. Jurors had heard from 51 witnesses. 51 witnesses. That's a lot. And reviewed more than 90 items of evidence. After only 5 hours of deliberations, the jurors were ready to present their verdict. Mike Anglims sat beside his lawyer with his head bowed and his hands covering his face. He took a St. Michael's medallion from a relative sitting behind him and put it on to face the jury. Oh, I know, it gives me chills. As the first not guilty verdict was read, Mike's relatives clapped and cheered, and Mike's lawyer turned to him and hugged him. Mike cried as the second not guilty verdict was announced.
Oh my God.
Some jurors also cried as Mike got up and hugged his family. He said, "I can't even move. I'm so numb." I know, don't cry. See, you almost ready to cry.
Okay. I'm okay.
So he got acquitted. So as for the case, there's been no further movement that I could find at all. The county attorney said they wouldn't pursue the case unless new evidence came in. They said the case is closed unless something else comes forward, and the family said they had talked about asking the police to reopen the case after the trial, but they doubted the killer or killers would ever be found.
What?
I know. Mike's lawyers criticized the police investigation, saying the detectives were so focused on Mike that they failed to check on possible other suspects.
I got another one.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah. And as far as Bridget is concerned, though she originally as a child believed Mike had been guilty, she doesn't anymore. She does wonder about Michael Sr. So was he skipped over because he was a firefighter and affiliated with police and his public service? And was he really thoroughly investigated? Or, I don't know, but there was very little information. I mean, they barely even mentioned the dad and everything.
Yeah, that's so crazy. I mean, not that it's easier to think that a father could kill their daughter before they could get, but there's is more, I don't want to say common, but it
makes more sense.
You know what I mean? And it doesn't sound like he was really involved. I mean, when he decided when Mike Jr. didn't want to live at home anymore, he didn't go live with his dad.
Right.
He went and lived with his, not just grandparents, maternal grandparents.
Right.
You know, obviously there was some weird shit going on there.
Mm-hmm. There was not really a connection, apparently. And the fire kind of brings up.
I'm sorry, the fire, right?
Because you do.
He's a firefighter, so he knows about. I mean,
and it could have been he wanted the bodies to be found quickly.
Right.
I'm not saying it's him, but it could have been.
No, I wonder if he knew that Mike Jr. wasn't living at home anymore. Did he know that he lived at his grandparents' house? Was he just trying to? Just spitballing motives, like, you know, this man doesn't want to have this previous family anymore or whatever.
Yeah, like had he been there?
I don't know. Right. I don't know. Oh my gosh. So many questions. I
know. Yeah. And I didn't find any information about whether Susan was dating, it could have been someone outside the family.
Right. What if she was seeing somebody? I mean, there's so many different possibilities. I mean, just to think it was the kid in the first place is just,
I know. Seems like
it's just such a weird place to go.
I know.
Right off the bat.
Just like they wanted to get it done with. But
yeah,
I don't know. It was very heart-wrenching to talk with Bridget about it, but she's...
Oh God, I bet.
You know, being a 13-year-old when your best friend dies, it affected her entire future. But one thing she does say is that she believes Michelle is her guardian angel. And she often dreams of her. And when she does, the next day after, something amazing happens. So
damn, that is so cool.
I know. So she feels
That's so cool.
She can always ask for her help and she'll be there.
Aww.
It was really emotional to talk to her about it. But I'm glad that
gosh.
I know. An amazing story.
Thank you for Bridget for sharing that story so that we could talk about it. It is a crazy, crazy story. Oh, there's so many holes.
I know.
It feels so unfinished.
It feels so unfinished. And I kind of wish they would reopen it to look into it more. Because I don't know. It didn't say the case was closed for the cops, but it did for the DA. So...
Right. And they said they wouldn't do anything for new evidence. But I mean, they have evidence, but it obviously wasn't tested with the technologies that we have now.
Yeah. So I'm sure it would take someone actually like opening up the case and being like, I'm going to take this on.
Dude, if they had saliva from the gas tank.
I mean, you can even get DNA from touch now. So, I mean, saliva would
and they have somebody spit.
They've got more than just touch DNA.
Right.
Sources for this episode are various Omaha World Herald newspaper articles written by Jeff Gauger, Terry Hyland, David Thompson, John Melangagio, and Sharon Novotny, and an article by Nick Schinker of the Catholic Voice.
Hey ODFMers! We have recently set up a way for you to get even more ODFM content. Become a patron through our Patreon site. And for the price of your favorite coffee order, you can get ad-free episodes, a shout out on a future episode, and more.
For the price of a strong cocktail, you can even get things like an ODFM ringtone, videos of our recorded session, and merch discounts. Your support helps us pay for the behind-the-scenes work and equipment to help keep us going and getting better and better content each week.
If you can't afford to support us monthly through Patreon, consider sharing our podcast with your friends. The more people that listen, the more stories we can discover. Thanks for being our podcast buddy. Our fans are the best. Thanks for listening to another episode of ODFM, hosted by Kelly DeVries and Jenna Swanson. Production and editing by Kelly DeVries. Theme music by Eric Swanson. ODFM is a satirical true crime podcast for entertainment purposes only. The stories you hear are serious and true. The comments and opinions are not. We apologize if any of our content is harmful or disrespectful. If you have a story you'd like to submit for a future episode, please email it to odfmpodcast@gmail.com. Visit us on Facebook and Instagram at ODFM Podcast, and check out our website, odfmpodcast.com, for more information on our episodes, your hosts, or general shenanigans.